Don't get mad at me. On Wednesday, April 3rd, I received an email from the Department of the Environmental Conservation informing me that after many months of review, they have finally denied the Lake Bomoseen Association and Lake Bomoseen Preservation Trust's application to spray Lake Bomoseen with toxic chemicals to kill milfoil. This was clearly the right decision, and here's why. From the onset, the applicants handled the application process poorly. They never once made any attempt to engage the public on this important issue. Had they done so from the beginning, they would have saved a lot of time, money, and acrimony. They would have learned that there was very little public support for this initiative, and had they listened to the community, they might have opted for a different approach. Instead, they approached the town of Hubbardton to sign on to their application. The Select Board thought that they were simply reauthorizing the use of the harvester. Once they learned that this was not the case, they immediately requested that the town be removed as a co-applicant. Next, unbeknownst to the community, they hired a real lobbyist to help them. It didn't take long for the opposition to discover that a lobbyist had been hired. Once exposed, the lobbyist was fired. Then there was the need to spray the lake. The LBA/LBPT tried to convince folks that Lake Bomoseen was a lake in crisis. They declared that the milfoil had increased 265 acres to 620 acres in only 5 years. Those who know the lake thought that this could not possibly be true. Well, it turned out that it wasn't true. The opposition discovered that back in 1996, the lake had 600 acres of milfoil. So instead of a 250% increase in 5 years, it was more like a 3% increase in a quarter of a century. The applicants never retracted this incorrect and misleading assertion. 3 municipalities that had surrounded the lake voted unanimously to oppose the application. A 4th town also signed on in opposition. Thousands of people signed petitions opposing the application, yet the applicants were undaunted. This small group of people was committed to imposing their will onto the majority, even though the previous LBA board president insisted that they would not. Of the 50 comments on the application, it appears as though 12 were disappointed with the decision and 38 agreed with the decision. One of the 12 who disagreed, 2 of them called me out by name. I was falsely accused of being a lobbyist for the opposition. I retired from lobbying on May 14th, 2013, and have not worked since. I was accused of bullying and threatening the applicants. I was accused by the LBA president of being a lobbyist and applying, quote, relentless pressure and, quote, spreading misinformation and using my connections in the legislature to manipulate the process behind the scenes as the primary reason for the denial of the permit. To be fair, later in the submission, the LBA president did refer to me as a former lobbyist. For the record, I never once tried to manipulate the process. Why they chose to publicly defame me is a mystery. All I and those who opposed this flawed application did was to call out their actions and their misrepresentations. In item number 4 of the LBPT president's uses cost figures for DASH, which is diver-assisted suction harvesting, benthic mats and harvesting, without referencing where he gets his figures. He stated, quote, "The apparent exclusion from the DEC's decision-making process to include an economic cost-benefit analysis of the comparative costs of the very limited number of alternative accepted Eurasian milfoil control options In the greater benefit analysis, i.e. dash averaging $24,000 per acre, benthic barriers at $54,000, and mechanical harvesting at $17,000 per acre. Well, according to AE Commercial Divers, quote, our 2022 day rate is $1,750 per day, which includes a dash boat, 2 certified divers, 1 certified boat tender, working for 8 hours. It takes approximately 5 working days to clear 1 acre of moderately dense growth, though it will vary with the weather, native plant dispersal, water visibility, and boat traffic. According to the owner-operator of the harvester, the cost per acre is actually $250 to $400, not $17,000. The LBPT board president also ironically decried a, quote, mob mentality. It should be noted that it was our supporters who had property damage done with paintballs. It was our supporters who had signs defaced, destroyed, and stolen. And to the best of my knowledge, there was no physical damage done to any of the supporters. The sad part of all this is that this could have been avoided had the LBA and the LBPT done the right thing from the beginning. All they had to do was to publicly announce their intentions and to call for a public meeting to explain their intentions. To date, the applicants have never held a public forum. Instead, they hid behind orchestrated Zoom meetings and tried to impose their agenda without any regard for how people might feel. The application was denied because of the applicants and no one else. Perhaps instead of publicly defaming me, they would be well served to look into a mirror and get mad at that person. I'm Bob Stannard. Thanks for watching.